I still remember the moment my sister Julia walked across that stage to receive her diploma. She was the first person in our family to graduate from college. 4 years of hard work, 3 jobs, and countless sleepless nights had led to this single moment. I sat there in the audience, my heart bursting with pride watching her in that graduation gown. But something was wrong. The seats beside me, the ones reserved for our parents, for our grandmother, for our aunt, they were all empty. I was the only one there. Before I share what happened next, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. If stories about family betrayal and finding your own strength speak to you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What happened after that graduation ceremony changed everything in our family forever. To understand why that empty row of seats hurt so much, you need to know a little about our family. There are 4 of us kids in total. Well, technically 3 now that we are all grown. There is me, the oldest, at 25. I work as a software engineer in Seattle, about 1,000 miles away from my hometown in Arizona. Then there is Julia, who just turned 22. And finally there is Derek, the baby of the family, at 19 years old. Our parents, Richard and Donna, are good people in many ways. They worked hard to provide for us, kept a roof over our heads, and made sure we never went hungry. But somewhere along the way, something shifted in how they treated their children. Derek became the center of their universe. I noticed it first when Derek turned 16. Our parents bought him a brand new pickup truck the day he got his license. Not a used car, not a hand-me-down. A brand new truck with leather seats and a premium sound system. When I turned 16, I rode my bicycle to school until I saved enough money from my part-time job to buy a beat-up sedan with 150,000 miles on it. When Julia turned 16, she did the same thing. But it was not just about material things. It went deeper than that. Derek decided to drop out of college after just 1 semester, saying it was not for him. Our parents praised him for knowing what he wanted in life. They said he was an independent thinker, a free spirit. Meanwhile, Julia worked herself to the bone for 4 years to get through nursing school. She held down 3 jobs simultaneously. She made coffee at a local cafe from 5 in the morning until her first class. She tutored high school students in chemistry and biology 3 evenings a week. And she worked the overnight shift at a nursing home on weekends, changing bed sheets and helping elderly patients to the bathroom. Our parents rarely mentioned Julia's accomplishments. When she made the dean's list for the 6th semester in a row, my mother's response was a distracted, "That is nice, honey," before turning back to help Derek figure out which video game console he wanted for Christmas. I tried to help Julia when I could. Every few months I would send her a few $100s telling her it was for books or groceries or whatever she needed. I never told our parents about it. They would have said I was enabling her, that she needed to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. The irony of that statement coming from people who paid Derek's rent and car insurance seemed lost on them. 3 months before graduation, Julia called me with excitement bubbling in her voice. She had ordered her cap and gown. She had reserved tickets for the ceremony. 6 tickets in total. 1 for our father, 1 for our mother, 1 for Derek, 1 for me, 1 for Grandma Betty, our mother's mother, and 1 for Aunt Linda, our mother's sister. Julia had planned everything down to the last detail. She had made reservations at her favorite Italian restaurant for a celebration dinner after the ceremony. She had even picked out a new dress to wear under her graduation gown, something she had saved up for over 3 months. When she told our parents about the date, they promised they would be there. Our father said he would take the day off work. Our mother said she would make Julia's favorite chocolate cake. For a moment, it seemed like everything would be perfect. Then 2 weeks before graduation, Derek announced that his friends were renting a yacht in Miami for a long weekend. He wanted to go. The dates just happened to overlap perfectly with Julia's graduation. I was not there for the conversation, but Julia told me about it later. Our parents initially said no. They reminded Derek that his sister's graduation was important, that they had made a commitment. Derek threw a fit. He said graduation ceremonies were boring, just a bunch of people sitting around listening to speeches. He said Julia would not even notice if they were not there. He accused them of never letting him have any fun. Julia told me she heard all of this through her bedroom door, sitting on her bed, holding her graduation tickets in her hands. 2 days later, our parents changed their minds. Derek really needed this trip, they explained. He had been stressed lately. The yacht was already booked and his friends were counting on him. Besides, they could always watch Julia's graduation through a video call. It would be almost like being there. Julia did not argue. She never argued. She just nodded and said she understood. When she called me that night, her voice was flat, emotionless. She said it was fine, that she was used to it by now. But I could hear the cracks underneath. I could hear 22 years of being second best finally starting to break through. I booked my flight to Arizona that same night. I landed in Phoenix on Friday evening, the night before the graduation ceremony. I drove my rental car to our parents' house, expecting to find the whole family there, maybe having a last dinner together before they all went their separate ways. Instead, I found Julia sitting alone in the dark living room, the television playing some show she was not watching. "They left this morning," she said without looking at me. "All of them. Mom, Dad Derek, Grandma Betty, Aunt Linda. They decided to make it a family trip." I stood in the doorway trying to process what she had just said. The yacht trip had turned into a family vacation. Everyone was invited except the person whose graduation was supposed to be the reason they were all together in the first place. I called our father's phone. It rang 6 times and went to voicemail. I called our mother. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Oh, honey," she said when I demanded an explanation. "Derek really wanted everyone to come. You know how he gets when he feels left out. We will video call Julia during the ceremony. It will be fine. It will be fine." Those 3 words echoed in my head as I sat down next to my sister on that dark couch. It will be fine. I did not sleep much that night. I kept thinking about all the times Julia had shown up for everyone else in this family. She had driven 3 hours to watch Derek's high school football games, even though he barely acknowledged her in the stands. She had spent her spring breaks helping our mother clean the house instead of going on trips with her friends. She had tutored Derek through his high school classes so he could graduate on time, never asking for thanks or recognition. And now, on the most important day of her life, she was alone. The morning of graduation, I helped Julia get ready. She had done her hair the night before, spending 2 hours with a curling iron to get the waves just right. She put on the dress she had saved 3 months to buy, a simple navy blue thing that made her look like the professional she was about to become. We drove to the university campus in silence. The parking lot was already filling up with families' cars, packed with proud parents and siblings and grandparents, all there to celebrate their graduates. I watched Julia's eyes follow a family of 7 as they walked past our car, everyone wearing matching t-shirts with the graduate's face printed on them. I took pictures of her in front of the university sign, in front of the nursing school building, in front of a fountain where students traditionally took their graduation photos. In every picture she smiled, but her eyes told a different story. The ceremony itself was held in the main arena, a massive building that could seat 15,000 people. Julia had to sit with her fellow nursing graduates near the front, so I found my spot in the family section alone. The 2 seats to my left and the 3 seats to my right remained empty throughout the entire ceremony. I watched speech after speech, applauded graduate after graduate, checked my phone obsessively for any message from our parents. Nothing. Not a single text wishing Julia good luck. Not a single voicemail saying they were thinking of her. Then they called her name. Julia Marie Thompson. Bachelor of Science in Nursing, magna cum laude. I jumped to my feet, clapping and cheering louder than I had ever cheered for anything in my life. I screamed her name until my throat burned. I wanted her to hear me, to know that someone was there, that someone cared. She walked across that stage with her head held high, shook hands with the dean, accepted her diploma. Then she looked out into the crowd, searching. Her eyes found me standing alone in that row of empty seats. She gave me the smallest nod, a gesture so slight that no one else would have noticed it. But I did, and I understood. The moment Julia stepped off that stage, my phone started buzzing. I pulled it out, expecting a congratulations message, maybe a photo from the family at the yacht. Instead, I saw 37 missed calls from our father and a text message that made my stomach drop. "Come home immediately." My hands shook as I called him back. He answered on the first ring. "Derek had an accident," our father said, his voice tight with panic. "We are at the hospital in Miami. Your mother is hysterical. We need Julia here now. She is going to be a nurse. She should know what to do." I found Julia in the crowd of graduates taking photos with their families. I pulled her aside and told her what had happened. Her face went pale, then confused, then something else entirely. Something I had never seen on her face before. "What kind of accident?" she asked. I called Aunt Linda while Julia changed out of her graduation gown in the bathroom. Our aunt answered with a sigh. "He got drunk on the yacht," she told me. "Fell off a ladder trying to climb to the upper deck. Broke his arm. The doctors already said it. He is fine, really. Your parents are just overreacting." I relayed the information to Julia when she came out of the bathroom. Derek was not dying. He was not in critical condition. He had broken his arm because he got drunk on a yacht trip that had replaced her graduation. We drove back to our parents' house in silence. But this silence was different from the morning. This silence was heavy-charged like the air before a thunderstorm. Julia sat on our parents' couch, still holding her diploma in its leather folder. She had not put it down since we left the university. I sat across from her, watching her face cycle through emotions I could not quite name. 4 years, she said finally. I worked for 4 years for this day, and they chose a yacht trip with Derek. I did not know what to say. There was nothing to say. Her phone rang. "Our parents calling on video." Julia stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. Our mother's face appeared, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Behind her, I could see Derek lying in a hospital bed, his arm in a bright blue cast, laughing at something on his phone. "Julia, thank God," our mother said. "You need to book a flight here right now. Your brother needs you." "For what?" Julia asked. Her voice was calm, eerily calm. "He broke his arm, Julia. He is in pain. You are almost a nurse now. You should be here to help take care of him." Julia looked at the screen, at our mother's tearful face, at Derek in the background, at the hospital room in Miami, where our entire family had gathered instead of at her graduation. "I graduated today," Julia said. Our mother blinked. "I know, honey. We are so proud of you. But right now, your brother needs you." "Did you watch?" Julia asked. "Did you video call like you promised?" There was a pause. "We meant to," our mother said. But everything happened so fast with Derek, and the reception on the yacht was not very good, and then we had to rush to the hospital. I saw Julia's hand tighten on the diploma folder. Her knuckles went white. "Where is Dad?" she asked. Our father appeared on screen, his face red and angry. "Julia, enough with the questions. Book a flight and get down here. This is a family emergency." "No." The word hung in the air. Our father's face contorted with disbelief. "Excuse me." Julia leaned forward slightly. "I said no. I am not coming to Miami. Derek is your brother. Your family. You need to be here." "I needed my family here," Julia said, and her voice cracked for the first time. "Today. At my graduation. The graduation I worked 4 years for while working 3 jobs. The graduation I was the first person in this family to ever have. But you all chose Derek. Again." Our mother started crying harder. "That is not fair, Julia. Derek needed this trip. He has been so stressed lately." Stressed from what? Julia shot back. "He does not have a job. He does not go to school. He lives in your basement and plays video games all day." What exactly is he stressed about? I watched my sister transform in that moment. 22 years of swallowed words, of bitten tongues, of nodding and smiling and saying it is fine, came pouring out of her like water from a broken dam. "Do you know how much student loan debt I have?" she continued. $42,000. Because you told me you could not afford to help with my tuition. But you bought Derek a truck. You pay his rent. You pay his phone bill. You pay for everything while I worked overnight shifts at a nursing home changing adult diapers at 3 in the morning so I could afford textbooks. Julia, our father, snapped. This is not the time for this. Then when is the time, Dad? When is it ever the time to talk about how you have treated me? I have spent my entire life trying to be good enough for this family. I got straight A's. I never got in trouble. I never asked for anything. And none of it ever mattered because I am not Derek. That is not true, our mother whimpered. It is true. And the worst part is, I always made excuses for you. I told myself you loved us equally, just differently. I told myself Derek needed more attention because he struggled more. I told myself I was being selfish for wanting what he had. But today, Julia held up her diploma. Today, I finally did something amazing. And you were not there. You have never been there. I decided to speak up. She is right, I said, stepping into frame. I have watched this family treat Julia like an afterthought for years. She deserves better. Our father turned his anger toward me. Stay out of this. This is between us and Julia. No, Julia said firmly. He is the only family member who showed up for me today. He is the only one who has ever showed up for me. So he gets to say whatever he wants. Derek finally looked up from his phone. Can everyone stop being so dramatic? I just broke my arm. She can graduate any time. Julia stared at him through the screen. I hope your arm heals well, Derek. I really do. But I am not coming to Miami. I am not dropping everything to take care of you just because Mom and Dad expect me to. The hospital has doctors. The hospital has nurses. People who actually get paid to deal with drunk teenagers who fall off yachts. Our mother gasped. Julia Marie Thompson. What? Mom. Are you going to ground me? I am 22 years old. I have my own apartment, my own job lined up, my own life. A life I built entirely by myself because no one in this family ever helped me build it. If you do not come to Miami, our father said slowly, you are no longer part of this family. Julia laughed. A real laugh, though there was no humor in it. I have never been part of this family, Dad. I have just been too afraid to admit it until now. Consider this my graduation. Not from nursing school. From all of you. She ended the call. The room was silent except for Julia's ragged breathing. I watched her clutch that diploma to her chest, watched tears finally spill down her cheeks, watched her shoulders shake with sobs she had been holding in all day, all year, all her life. I crossed the room and wrapped my arms around her. I did not say it would be okay, because I did not know if it would be. I just held her and let her cry. When the tears finally slowed, she looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Do you think I did the right thing? I think you did the only thing you could do, I said. And I am proud of you, more proud than I have ever been of anyone. She laughed through her tears. Even more proud than when Derek won that video game tournament last year. We both laughed, then the kind of laugh that comes when you have cried too much to cry anymore. That night I took Julia to the Italian restaurant where she had made reservations for 6. We sat at a table meant for our entire family, just the two of us staring at 4 empty chairs. I had imagined this so differently, she said softly. I know. I pictured Mom crying happy tears, Dad making his terrible jokes, even Derek pretending to care for 5 minutes. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, Julia's best friend from nursing school. I had secretly invited her and 2 other friends from Julia's program, along with Professor Martinez, the nursing instructor who had mentored Julia for 4 years. Within 20 minutes, our table was full. Not with the family Julia was born into, but with the family she had chosen. The family who had seen her struggle and cheer for her anyway. The family who showed up. Julia cried again when she saw them. But these were different tears. The weeks after graduation were hard in ways I had not expected. Julia moved in with me in Seattle, temporarily sleeping on my couch while she interviewed for nursing positions. Our parents called exactly once a cold conversation where our father demanded an apology, and our mother cried about how Julia was tearing the family apart. Julia did not apologize. She did not yell either. She simply said that she loved them, but could not continue being treated as less than Derek. She said she hoped someday they could have a real relationship, one based on mutual respect. Then she said goodbye and hung up. She started therapy a month later. Twice a week she sat in a small office and unpacked 22 years of feeling invisible, of feeling not good enough, of feeling like love was something she had to earn, rather than something she deserved. The process was painful. There were nights she cried herself to sleep on my couch, nights she doubted everything, nights she almost called our parents to apologize just to make the hurt go away. But she did not. She stayed strong even when staying strong felt impossible. Julia got hired at a children's hospital 3 months after graduation, the pediatric oncology unit. She spent her days caring for sick kids, holding their hands during treatments, making them laugh with silly jokes and funny faces. She found purpose in that work, found meaning in being present for people who needed her. She rented her own apartment 6 months later. A tiny studio with a view of the Puget Sound. She furnished it with second-hand furniture and hung her diploma above her desk, framed in simple black wood. 3 months after that, our mother called. Her voice was different this time, smaller somehow, humbled. Derek had gotten arrested for driving under the influence, his 3rd offense. The lawyer said he was facing real jail time. Our parents were devastated, confused, unable to understand how their golden child had fallen so far. "I am not calling to ask for help," our mother said. "I know I do not have the right. I am calling because I finally understand what you were trying to tell us. We failed Derek by never holding him accountable. And we failed you by never seeing how hard you were working. I am so sorry, Julia. I am so deeply sorry." Julia listened. She did not interrupt, did not argue, did not say "I told you so." "Thank you for saying that, Mom," she said finally. "It means more than you know." "Can we start over?" our mother asked, her voice breaking. "Can we try to be a real family?" Julia was quiet for a long moment. "We can try," she said. "But it has to be different. I will not be the afterthought anymore. I will not drop everything when Derek has a crisis. I am not the family emergency hotline. I am your daughter and I need to be treated like one." Our mother agreed. Our father was slower to come around, but eventually he called too. The conversations were awkward at first, stilted and careful, like walking on ice you are not sure will hold your weight. But slowly, over months of effort and therapy and honest communication, things began to change. Julia never forgot what happened on her graduation day. She did not let herself forget. That pain was part of her story, part of what made her who she was. But she refused to let it define her. She refused to let it make her bitter, or closed off, or unable to trust. 1 year after graduation, Julia was promoted to senior nurse on her unit. She had saved enough money to trade in her old car for a reliable sedan. She had a small group of close friends, a therapist she trusted, and a relationship with our family that was finally starting to feel real. She hung a second frame next to her diploma. Inside it was a note she had written to herself on the 1st anniversary of her graduation. It said, "For the girl who showed up for herself when no one else did. You were always enough. You just needed to believe it." Looking back now, I realize that graduation day was not just about a diploma. It was about Julia finally learning to value herself the way she had always valued everyone else. It was about her discovering that she did not need anyone's permission to be proud of her own accomplishments. It was about her understanding that family is not just about blood, but about who shows up when it matters. If you are watching this and you have ever felt invisible in your own family, if you have ever worked harder than everyone else and still been overlooked, if you have ever wondered whether you are worthy of love and recognition, I want you to hear this. You are enough. You have always been enough. The people who cannot see your worth are not failing you because something is wrong with you. They are failing you because something is broken in them. And you do not have to stay broken just because they are. Julia walked across that stage alone, but she did not stay alone. She built a life full of people who appreciate her, who celebrate her, who show up without being asked. She learned that the only applause that really matters is the applause you give yourself. If this story touched you, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had to stand up to your family? Have you ever felt like the invisible child? What would you do if your family missed your graduation for something like this? Your stories matter, and this community is here to listen. If you found value in this video, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories. Subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more stories about real people facing real challenges and finding their way through. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message today, share this video with them. You never know whose life you might change. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of this community. May you always have the courage to show up for yourself, even when no one else does. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.